Less than 50 shopping days now until Selection Sunday. Perfect time to welcome in Jerry Palm, tournament expert for CBS Sports. Jerry, this season, just the third time in Big Ten history, two teams have been ranked #1. What's the likelihood that Indiana and Michigan enter the NCAA tournaments as #1 seeds?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. They're going to need some help from other teams around the country to make that happen. But the good thing for Michigan and Indiana is they're playing in the Big Ten Conference, the #1 league in the country. That means chances every week, sometimes twice a week, to pick up quality wins, the kind of wins that's going to impress the committee and help build a resume for that #1 seed. The key thing for them is going to be to avoid the bad loss. And in terms of the Big Ten, a bad loss would be a loss to anyone who's not a tournament contender. And speaking of #1 seeds, let's not forget about Michigan State. The Spartans have beaten Kansas outside the league. They already have 4 losses, so their margin for error in terms of becoming a #1 seed is starting to fade a little bit. But if they were to win the Big Ten, especially with something like a 15-3 or 14-4 record, the Spartans could be a #1 seed also.
Jerry, that trio has nothing to worry about in terms of getting into the tournament. But let's talk about a different Big Ten threesome that could be sweating out Selection Sunday. We start with Illinois. 12-0 to start the year. Now they've lost 6 of their last 9. Where does Illinois stand? What do they need to do?
Well, Illinois has got to stop the bleeding. I mean, that's the first thing. Is that they, of course, they are so dependent on their three-point shot. They need to start hitting three-pointers. But the thing for Illinois is they need to avoid more losses like the home loss to Northwestern, because those are the things that move you down the bracket in a hurry. Somebody's got to finish 7th in this league. You've got 7 quality teams in this league. Illinois at 8-10 or 9-9 is probably still going to make the tournament, in part because they won at Gonzaga and beat Butler on a neutral floor in non-conference play.
Now, Iowa's an interesting look because they're just inside the top 100 in terms of the RPI. They have a couple of quality wins, no glaring losses, Jerry, yet their resume doesn't sparkle.
No, it doesn't. They didn't play the strongest schedule, but they did beat Iowa State, their in-state rival, who's probably going to make the tournament, or at least a team that Iowa might be competing with for the tournament. And the home win over Wisconsin is really nice, but Iowa's going to need more of that. They're going to need more quality wins, and by the end of the year, that Purdue loss may not really be such a good loss. After all, we'll have to see what happens with the Boilermakers, but they need to avoid the bad losses within the league. They got to take care of business against the Nebraskas, the Penn States, and Northwesterns, and then steal some wins at home, give themselves a chance.
You mentioned Purdue, perfect segue into the Boilermakers. Some folks in West Lafayette now wondering about tournament chances after that Iowa win. Of course, don't forget they lost to 215th in the RPI, Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, and that's not really their only bad loss. Purdue would need a miracle. They would need a significantly increased level of play to put up the kind of record that it would take for them to get NCAA tournament consideration. They would probably need to have at least 11 conference wins entering the Big Ten tournament before you even really start talking about Purdue. That would mean 7 more wins in conference play, and when you look at the rest of their schedule, they'll probably be favored no more than twice.
Well, they're not going to be favored on Wednesday night, but it is a resume-building opportunity in a big way against the Indiana Hoosiers, a game you can see right here on BTN. Jerry, thanks for the time, my friend.
All right, thank you.